Today, I'm going to share which states you might want to steer clear of in 2025 and the reasons behind it. Welcome back to our ongoing series. This is our third year covering this topic, and I must say, we've been pretty spot on the last couple of years, at least in my opinion. But hey, I could be wrong. It's up to you to decide. As we go through this list, some of you might feel we've overlooked certain states, and that's likely because we believe they've already hit rock bottom, and things can only improve from here. West Virginia is a prime example. The state is home to wonderful people and breathtaking landscapes, but beyond that, it's tough to find significant positives. It's dirt cheap to live there, which might be worth the gamble, much like grabbing gas station nachos. Sure, they're only 99 cents, but are they worth the risk of an visit? You eat them, and 2 hours later, you feel like you're having a heart attack. You're rushed to the hospital, convinced you're on death's door. You tell your spouse you love them and apologize for all the wrongs you've done. She's upset, she's crying, and she's kind of annoyed about that bachelor party incident. Then, the doctor walks in and tells you it's just gas from those low-budget nachos. We've all been there, right? Every state, city, town, and country has its ups and downs. In this list, we'll explore 10 states currently on the downside and why. Ready? Let's dive in. Number 10. New Jersey. New Jersey has always had its share of issues, from Superfund sites to struggling urban areas. New Jersey, despite being a small state, had the highest number of these sites, thanks to companies that dumped chemicals and engaged in other harmful activities while the state turned a blind eye. As environmental laws tightened, these areas needed cleaning, thus becoming Superfund sites. While New Jersey has made some progress in cleaning up these sites and addressing other concerns, a few issues have worsened and will continue to deteriorate in 2025. These include high taxes and an expensive cost of living. High property taxes and taxes in general make the state increasingly unattractive for residents and businesses. This isn't new, but as costs rise, more people are likely to leave the Garden State. Jobs and the cost of living are the two main factors driving people away, and they feed into each other. When the cost of living rises, companies relocate, leading to job losses and even more people leaving. Infrastructure is another significant challenge. The state is struggling to maintain and update its heavily used transportation systems. It's not just the residents contributing to the wear and tear on New Jersey's roads. Being so close to New York, there's a lot of traffic, with many people commuting through New Jersey daily, especially those heading into New York City. Number 9. Nevada. Nevada is set to face some tough times ahead. The state is already feeling the pinch, particularly in the tourism sector. I follow a few channels focused on Nevada, and they've been talking about how tourism numbers haven't bounced back as expected post-COVID. It should be obvious to everyone that Nevada's economy heavily relies on tourism, which naturally has its seasonal ups and downs. But when COVID hit, it hit Nevada particularly hard, especially in Reno and the Las Vegas metro area, where most of the population and businesses are concentrated. Compounding this issue is the fact that many states have now legalized gambling, and Indian casinos continue to expand across the US. These factors are gradually eroding the appeal of Las Vegas and Reno. On top of that, Nevada is grappling with severe water scarcity. As part of the arid Southwest, Nevada faces significant water shortages every year, and it only seems to be getting worse. While the winter of 2022-2023 was wetter than usual, providing some relief, there's no guarantee this will happen again, and the state could soon be back to struggling with water supply. Every city wants to grow its population and tax base, but without sufficient water resources, Nevada needs a better plan than what's currently in place. Number 8. Kentucky. Kentucky is one of those states that rarely gets discussed. It's never the worst, but it's never really that great either. However, Kentucky is currently facing some serious challenges, particularly in public health. The state struggles with high rates of smoking-related deaths, illnesses, and obesity, making it one of the least healthy states in the country. Now, you might wonder how this affects the state's decline. Well, not everyone has private insurance, so the state often foots the bill for healthcare. When more people are on disability due to health issues, the state's expenses increase. Sure, They get federal funding, but a significant portion comes from the state's own budget. In addition to health challenges, Kentucky has long struggled with a lack of economic diversity. For decades, the state relied heavily on coal and agriculture, but as the coal industry declines, so does the state's income and tax base. This means more people are on unemployment, and the state's financial situation becomes even more precarious. Kentucky is just a few bad decisions away from becoming the next Mississippi. Number 7. Arkansas. Arkansas is dealing with a host of issues, and I've mentioned this before. I often get comments and emails urging me to make a video about how bad the governor is, but that's not what we do here. Instead, let's focus on the real problems Arkansas faces. The state has some of the highest poverty rates in the U.S., leading to food insecurity and limited access to health care. This has been an ongoing issue and is only going to get worse. Additionally, Arkansas has dropped the ball on education. The state has historically had lower levels of educational attainment compared to the national average, which hampers workforce development and economic opportunities. As a largely rural state, Arkansas also faces challenges typical of rural areas, such as job scarcity, brain drain, and limited access to services. To top it off, Arkansas is home to two of the most dangerous cities in the country, Pine Bluff and Little Rock, and the situation in these cities isn't likely to improve anytime soon. Number 6. Illinois. Illinois has Chicago, so I could just stop there, but I'll continue. The state is grappling with debt and pension issues, facing significant fiscal challenges due to large public pension liabilities and budget deficits. On top of that, Illinois is experiencing a population decline, which further reduces its tax base. And that's not even counting the deaths in Chicago due to violence each year. Number 5. New Mexico. In my opinion, New Mexico is the most beautiful of all the desert states. But unfortunately, that's where the good news ends. New Mexico struggles with educational outcomes, drug problems, crime, and poverty, just like many other states, but they seem particularly pronounced here. The state often ranks low in education, which impacts its future economic prospects. Without an educated workforce, tech companies and other businesses that require a basic level of education won't move into the state. If only a handful of students graduate each year, it's hard to attract employers. New Mexico has also been dealing with a high crime rate for years, and that's not going to change in 2025. On the bright side, a friend of mine recently retired to New Mexico. His wife is the ultimate Karen. She calls the police for every minor infraction. Leave your car parked on the street for 3 days? She'll call the cops. Harley too loud? She'll call the cops. She once filmed a neighbor who sat on his porch reading, but who would occasionally spit off the porch onto the sidewalk. She took that footage to the police, and they just laughed at her. We make fun of her all the time for this, so she's not surprised I'm mentioning it here, just not using her name. Julie. But yeah, New Mexico's problems aren't going away anytime soon. Number 4. Alaska. Alaska has a multitude of issues, though overpopulation isn't one of them. It's the largest state in the U.S., yet has one of the smallest populations. The 5 states with the lowest populations are Wyoming with 576,000, Vermont with 643,000, Alaska with 733,000, North Dakota with 779,000, and South Dakota with 886,000. You could fit all those states into Alaska and still have room to spare. Besides having a small population, Alaska is dealing with other problems like fluctuations in oil revenue. The state's economy is heavily reliant on oil, and when oil prices fluctuate, it creates budgetary issues. They're also feeling the effects of climate change, with melting permafrost and changing ecosystems posing challenges for infrastructure and traditional ways of life. And if anyone wants to leave a comment about climate change being a hoax, it's not. The only debate left is whether humans are making the situation worse. Every scientist agrees the climate is changing. The question is how much humans are contributing to it. So, with fluctuating oil prices and the impacts of climate change, Alaska's situation is only going to get worse in 2025. Number 3. West Virginia. West Virginia has definitely seen better days. The state has been hit hard by the decline of the coal industry and the opioid crisis. They've made some progress, but there's still a long way to go. I think 2025, maybe 2026, will be the last year you'll see West Virginia in decline. Prices have dropped so low that it's attracting people who can make it work. Retirees can move there and live a decent life. For example, in a place like Huntington, West Virginia, you can buy a house for less than $100,000, but you'll have to deal with some big problems, like a lack of services and a struggling economy. However, that may be changing soon. Number 2. California. If you've been paying attention, California's current problems should come as no surprise. Despite being a very wealthy state, California has some serious issues to address in 2025. Wildfires, a lack of affordable housing, and homelessness are just a few of the problems. The state's cost of living is driving people to other states, while wildfires threaten homes and communities, especially in rural areas. The high cost of living, combined with rising crime rates in major cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, is pushing residents to move to states like Idaho, Utah, and Texas. In addition to these issues, California's agricultural sector faces water shortages and challenges due to changing weather patterns. But it's not all doom and gloom. If you can afford it, California remains a great place to live. Number 1. Oregon. It breaks my heart to put Oregon at number 1 on this list, as I was born and raised here. Oregon is not the state it once was, and in my opinion, it's on the verge of collapse. The state's political divide, especially between urban and rural areas, is stark and growing. Portland is seeing an exodus of people, and other cities in the state are also facing challenges. Homelessness, crime, and the cost of living are issues that won't be resolved easily, if ever. The state's education system is also struggling, and businesses are starting to look for other places to operate. The divide between urban and rural areas is so pronounced that some counties in eastern Oregon have even proposed seceding and joining Idaho. While that's unlikely to happen, it reflects the deep dissatisfaction some residents feel. Oregon has a lot to offer in terms of natural beauty and outdoor recreation, but unless the state can address these issues, it's going to be a tough road ahead. These are the 10 states I think you should avoid in 2025. Every state, city, and country has its ups and downs, and right now, these 10 states are facing some significant challenges. But remember, nothing is set in stone. States can turn things around, and a year from now, we might be talking about some of these states making a comeback.